Well, Taylor, you get the early part of the Major League season, and you got games in Colorado. What do you think is going to happen?
Probably some weather factors in there somewhere.
A lot of weather factors, a lot of long balls,
Oh, yeah.
and a lot of fun. That's coming up next here on Game of Storms.
This is the X Sports Network.
Welcome back to our second episode of Game of Storms. AJ Good here with Taylor Plott. Well, Taylor, we had some snow in our last game, the 2000 Independence Bowl. What a lot of fun going back and recapping that. But we got snow again this time. However, it's in baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and if there's one thing we know, why in the world does Major League Baseball schedule games in April in Colorado? I still don't get it, especially the early part of April.
Exactly. And you kind of go back and look at some of the other sports that you have. First off, where does spring training happen for baseball? They happen in Florida and they happen in Arizona. They happen in the warm spots during the winter months. So, yeah, why would you have some Colorado Rockies games and that? But you also look at some other sports where it's like, where does golf play? Where does Hawaii. Yeah, they start the PGA Tour over there in Hawaii. So it's like, same thing. Why do you have that in Colorado? Because what we're going to talk about is exactly what you would expect.
And as a Cubs fan, it's crazy watching some of those games. There's actually a Cubs-Braves game we're going to get to later once we get this series kicked off. Let's take a look at both of these teams coming into this game, which was actually more than one, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Braves came in 14-4, Rockies at 13-5, so they came in pretty good, pretty red hot through the first 18 games here of the year.
Exactly, and those were some of the, not necessarily saying better Braves teams. There have been some, better Braves teams in that year, but those were some pretty solid teams, especially for the Rockies. You had some pretty solid Rockies teams back in that era.
And take a look at the Braves. Finished the year 96-66, 30 games over 500. Won the NL East because, of course, they did. Back then, from basically 1990 all the way to the mid 2010s, the NL East belonged to the Braves outside of the occasional Marlins and Phillies out of nowhere year. Freddie Gonzalez was the manager, and this guy probably has a lot of thoughts about Freddie. This was his last winning season. He had two losing seasons. He's actually fired in the middle of his last year. But not a lot of fans of Freddie around Atlanta, I've got.
Not a lot of fans of him. I don't want to completely hound the guy, but, I mean, just kind of taking a step back, you're taking over for probably one of the best managers baseball has ever seen.
Right.
He's probably not towards the very tip top of the list, but he is top 5 easily in Bobby Cox. So you're having some big shoes to fill. You still have some really good players. Obviously, like you said, he had a winning season, won the NL East. So we continue to see that he inherited some good teams, but then all of a sudden you just started to realize that Freddie really just isn't that much of a manager to begin with, and unfortunately he had to be shown the door.
And got ran into some red-hot Cardinals teams in the playoffs as well. Let's take a look at some of those players. Freddie Freeman hit .319, 23 homers, 109 RBIs, all-star, finished 5th in the MVP voting. Evan Gattis, I can't believe he was a rookie in 2013 at .243, 21 homers, 65 RBIs. Brian McCann was an all-star at .256, 20 homers, 57 RBIs. You had Justin Upton, 27 homers, 70 RBIs. Dan Uggla, 22 home runs, 55 RBIs. Can you guess what his batting average was?
It was probably about 225.
176.
Wasn't too far off.
Pitching-wise, though, no Glavine, no Smoltz, no Maddox, but they weren't bad. Mike Minor, 13-9. He was the pitcher in one of these games. 3.21 ERA, led the team, 181 strikeouts. Chris Medlin.
Chris Medlin.
I never remember that name, but he went 15-12, 3.11 ERA, 157 strikeouts. Julio Teheran, this is his rookie year. He finished 5th in the rookie voting, went 14-8, a 3.2 ERA, 170 RBIs. And Craig Kimbrell had 50 saves, 98 strikeouts, finished 4th in the Cy Young voting. He was an all-star and had a 1.21 ERA.
Yeah.
Basically, that guy came in the game. It's lights out.
It was. You had no chance almost if you're the opposing team. I mean, there was a stretch there with Kimbrell where it was almost Mariano Rivera-like, where you see him coming out, you hear Enter Sandman coming onto the speakers, and you're like, oh boy, we're finished now.
Yeah. Now, before I'm going to tell you the stats of the Rockies, before I actually tell you what the record was.
Yeah.
So, Troy Tulowitzki hit 321, 25 home runs, all-star, 82 RBIs. Michael Kadire, all-star Silver Slugger, he had 331, 20 homers, 84 RBIs. Carlos Gonzalez, Cargo, hit 302, 26 RBIs, 26 homers, 70 RBIs, a Gold Glover, and an All-Star. Willen Rosario hit 292, 21 homers, 79 RBIs. Nolan Arenado was in his rookie year, hit 267, 10 home runs, 52 RBIs, and he finished 7th in the Rookie of the Year voting, and he was a Gold Glove. Do you want to guess what the record was?
Give me a hint. I want to say that they ended up actually not having a good record that year.
You're pretty spot on.
They had a good team. That was what I was talking about. They had good teams in this kind of zone of the 2010s, but I don't think this was one of their best years.
74 and 88.
Yeah.
Walt Weiss was their manager, former Rocky. I think he was on the original teams, and a former Brave as well. 4 seasons, didn't have a winning record at the time. Pitching was not great. As a team, they had a 4.4 ERA, one of the lowest in strikeouts. They're led by Jorge De La Rosa, 16 and 6, 3.49 ERA. Julius Chassin, I have to look up how to say that, 14 and 10, 3.47 ERA. You look at the strikeouts on the Brave side, 181, 157, 170. 126, 112. They had 2 guys, Rex Brothers, Rafael Betancourt. I think Brothers got hurt that year, combined for 35 saves. Well, before we get into the game part of it, Taylor, why don't you tell us about the weather, which, of course, it's Colorado in April, so I'm sure we had some white stuff falling on the ground.
You had some white stuff falling on the ground, and it's nothing. We go back and look at our last episode where it was Shreveport, Louisiana. I was like, holy cow, you're getting dumped with snow. Yeah. That was your typical kind of southern snowstorm type of setup. But you go to the Rockies, and this is like, okay, well, you still get snow in the Rockies even into June.
Right.
So, my first weather posting, if you will, on TV was in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and we continued to get snow in May and into June. So, yes, you're expecting it to be cold, and you just happen to have one of those just kind of areas of that trough, low pressure, and, moved some cooler air further down towards that Denver area, and you end up having temperatures in the 20s for the majority of the day.
Yeah, speaking of, they had some games delayed that whole week. The Mets and the Braves came into Colorado, so they actually broke the Major League record not once but twice. So on April 14th, the Mets came into town. They were playing a doubleheader as well. First pitch on the first game, 28 degrees, the coldest ever recorded first pitch Major League history, just to have it broken a couple days later because they had a snow out, had to play. Yes, our game is a doubleheader. First pitch of the first game was 23 degrees. Second pitch of the second game was 30 degrees. So let's get into game number 1. Justin Upton gets the scoring going for the Braves, goes deep for a home run to give the Braves a 1-0 lead.
Tracking began in 1991. Top of the first, Justin Upton. Nothing can cool off that hot bat. His 10th homer of the season. It's off Jeff Francis, 1-0 Braves.
Second inning, the Braves add a couple more. Dan Uggla might have struck out a lot, but he had a lot of long balls. A 2-run homer to center, giving the Braves a 3-0 lead.
Top of the second, man aboard for Dan Uggla, and he goes deep off Francis. A 2-run shot, his 4th, 3-0 Braves.
But the Rockies come back in the bottom half of the second. Willen Rosario, an RBI ground out. Tulowitzki scores. It's now 3-1. Then Jordan Pacheco, a single in the center. Kadire scores. It's now 3-2.
Mike Minor dealing to Jordan Pacheco with a man on, and Pacheco, RBI single up the middle. It scores Michael Kadire, and it's now a 3-2 Atlanta lead.
Then Josh Rutledge with an infield single brings home Dexter Fowler. Why in the world they never kept him? Thank you as a Cubs fan. It's now 3-all.
Bottom 3, Dexter Fowler led off the inning with a triple, and Josh Rutledge sends him home on the infield single. We are back to square one, tied at 3.
Then Evan Gattis breaks up the 3-all tie in the 4th with a home run to left to make it 4-3.
Evan Gattis, who digs in, facing Francis.
And now Gattis unloads deep to left field. How far's that one going? Midway up in the bleachers and left, and the Braves are back in front. That's what they came to see.
So you think after that, wow, cold game. We got a lot of offense in the first 4 innings. How many more runs do you think they scored?
I would say about 4.
None. That was it.
That was it.
That was it. Braves won the game 4-3. Mike Minor, who we mentioned was the best pitcher for the Braves that year, went 6 innings, gave up 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 5 strikeouts, finished on 102 pitches. Kimbrel got the save, gave up a hit, had a pair of strikeouts. Jeff Francis got the loss for the Rockies, 4 innings, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 75 pitches. Here's the crazy part of it. Remember, this is the non-pitch clock era. This game went 2 hours and 37 minutes. You want to guess what the attendance was?
I'm going to guess about 20,000.
You're very close.
Very close.
19,124. And if you look at the video, which we're probably showing you right now, there ain't no way 19,000 people, even 124 people were at that game. But they're, maybe I believe 15, but not 19. But hey, we had another game to get to.
Exactly.
Let's get to game number 2. Kadire actually starts things off, this time a single on the left. Eric Young Jr., a blast from the past. Rockies lead at 1-0 in the third.
Let's go bottom 3. It is 2 on and 2 down for the Rockies. Julio Teheran gives up the ribby single to Michael Kadire, and the Rockies strike first. They lead 1-0.
Top of the 4th, the Braves come alive. How about an old school name here? Juan Francisco. 2-run homer to right. They now lead it 2-1.
It's a man aboard for Juan Francisco.
And a high fly ball belted deep right. That's headed for the Rockies bullpen, and the Braves have taken the lead on a long home run.
Then Jordan Schaefer with the single in the center scores Gerald Laird. Forgot that guy even existed. 3-1 is the Braves lead.
Later on in the inning, man at second for Jordan Schaefer, and the RBI single scoring Gerald Laird, and the Braves extend to a 2-run lead. It's now 3-1.
And how about some history? B.J. Upton and Justin Upton go back-to-back for the first time ever their careers. The Braves now lead at 5-1.
Upton leading off the inning, facing Garland, and Upton sends this one down the left field line, and gone it goes. His 3rd of the season solo shot, and the Braves lead 4-1. The next batter for Atlanta is BJ's sibling.
Now Justin unloads it, and Myers. The brothers go back-to-back. They haven't done that since Little League, folks.
Now to the 6th, it's B.J. Upton with the sacrifice fly to center. Andrelton Simmons, he actually got MVP votes that year, makes it 6-1. Then in the 9th, the Braves add on. Upton with a double to left.
It is Justin Upton back at the plate a bit here, perhaps for homer number 12. It's going to fall short, but it is an RBI double nonetheless, scoring Ramiro Pena.
Francisco with a double to right to bring home Upton. It's now 9-1. Laird with a single to center for the Rockies, added another run in the bottom of the 9th. Braves win it 10-2. And how about BJ and Justin Upton? Every time I think about the Uptons, and you probably have more thoughts about them than what I do, I think of more of what could have been instead of what was.
Exactly. What definitely could have been. And actually, I was talking with my brother the other day about this, just kind of bringing it back up. And it definitely was, there was a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Expectations, I should say, for both of them. And when you really look at both of them throughout their careers, you end up seeing that BJ really didn't gum up to expectations. Yeah. Justin kind of got a little bit better, but even with him, it didn't look like he reached his full potential. Right. I mean, you look at the Braves team now, one of the good comparisons that I would have for Justin Upton specifically would be he was supposed to be like what Ronald Acuna is, and he didn't reach that. So if you look at Acuna now, that could have been or what should have been expectations for Justin Upton, but still very solid players, very solid time for the Braves, but yes, definitely what could have been.
All right, Taylor, so we're going to wrap up this episode. The big question, like we're going to ask at the end of every show, did weather play a factor in this game or games between the Braves and the Rockies?
Is it all right if I say yes and no?
Yeah.
Do them almost like
we have no rules.
No rules here.
No.
So I would say yes in the fact that is some really cold temperatures, and any of us who've played sports knows that those type of cold temperatures really do wear on the body. So I imagine they did have an impact with that, with pitchers, how long they need to throw, especially throwing in that cold weather can do that. On the other hand, the fact that it was cold air, that means it's very dense. Usually the ball doesn't fly that well. So whether it was the altitude that kind of compensated for that, you just had a ton of high fly balls that even went for a home run. So kind of a yes and no, kind of in between. I feel like yes, it did for the fact that it hurt. It kind of impacted the players themselves,
Yeah.
body-wise, but for the game itself, it didn't really look like it had much of an impact.
A little bit, there's a couple of those fly balls that if that was, say, August, that probably would have been gone.
Oh, yeah,
Upton
easily.
hit a couple like that.
Yep.
Kimbrel's fastball, I think he only topped out at 95 that
Yep.
day. Like when he does that little thing and you can see his
Oh,
breath,
yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's how you know how cold it is.
Exactly.
In Major League Baseball. Well, that's a good episode we have here, Taylor. Next week, we are diving into one heck of a topic. We're talking basketball, and you're thinking, what does weather have to do with basketball?
Yeah.
2008 in Atlanta, SEC tournament, well, it played a major factor. So for Taylor Plott, I'm AJ Good. We'll see you guys next week.
This is the X Sports Network.